Hey guys, welcome back to Startup Central. So you're probably asking yourself, why is Bitcoin going up and how far up will it get? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think, and we're going to be using both fundamental analysis and technical analysis to try to determine where the price of Bitcoin is going in the next few weeks and months. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, everyone is asking themselves this question: are we in a bull run and should we be investing in Bitcoin with the intent of getting great returns? So I'm going to tell you from the beginning, my impression is yes, we are, but this is not financial advice. So I'm going to tell you why I think this is going to be happening, and you can agree or disagree with my conclusions. But I think we are close to seeing Bitcoin shoot up. So how far up are we going to all-time highs? Let's explore. So let's go to the browser and figure out what's going on. Okay, first thing I want to mention, as you all guys know, if you are subscribed to this channel, you already know that Blackrock has requested to be approved by the SEC, Gary Gensler, for a spot Bitcoin ETF. And if this happens, which we think will happen, the price of Bitcoin might go up just by that virtue, because as you know, BlackRock would have to purchase a lot of Bitcoin in order to back the ETF that they will be offering to regular people who buy and sell in the stock exchange. So just by that virtue, the price of Bitcoin will go up because there's going to be more demand. But guys, remember, if the price will go up, two things needs to happen. First, the supply, the amount of people selling Bitcoin needs to be reduced. And on the other hand, the amount of buyers needs to increase. So this news of BlackRock getting their ETF almost approved, if it happens, which I think it will increase the demand in a great deal. So that by itself will potentially push the price up. But guys, I want you to see this in the browser. This is fresh news. This is 3 hours ago. The SEC approves the first leverage Bitcoin futures ETF. Now, we already had futures ETFs for Bitcoin, but this is the first one that is leverage. Now, guys, I don't recommend getting leverage to buy Bitcoin because it's risky, and a lot of people who get into leverage Bitcoin, which means getting a loan to buy Bitcoin, normally are burnt out because, as you know, the cycles of going up and down in Bitcoin are extreme. Nevertheless, the fact that this is approved is a good signal, because if they are approving this, if they're approving leverage, then it means that the SEC is kind of softening to Bitcoin in particular. I don't know if crypto in general, but in particular for Bitcoin. And as you can see, there's a lot of news about Bitcoin ETFs. More companies are applying, not only BlackRock. There are Fidelity is creating a new exchange, and they're looking into getting Bitcoin. And if you check all the news, Valkyrie Investment joins flurry of firms filing for spot Bitcoin ETFs. So there's a ton of companies. So it's not only BlackRock. And yes, BlackRock has a lot of money. They manage around $10 trillion. I don't know how much of that is going to be spent on Bitcoin, but I mean, even if it's just 1% of that, that's a lot of money pouring into this token, which is basically a crypto coin. Now, if you add that to other ETFs, that's potentially going to be a ton of money. Again, guys, a ton of money invested in Bitcoin means a lot of new buyers that weren't there in the market. Now, what about the sellers, right, guys? Because if everyone is selling their Bitcoin, then the price of Bitcoin might not go that much up. But let's see, because I have news for that. So can we source some information telling us if there are a lot of sellers? I have that. And this is another news I'm going to show you in a bit. But the one I want to show you from CoinDesk, Bitcoin is becoming illiquid at 147,000 Bitcoin a month. So this means 147,000 Bitcoins are not being sold, are being stored in wallets. So that means that while there's more people trying to buy, there's less people selling. And that, my guys, means the price of Bitcoin is going to be pushed up. Now, how much up? We'll explore that in a second. Before we go there, I want to show you two more things. One, the IMF, which is it used to be like the archie enemy of Bitcoin, they just capitulated and say there is no way to ban Bitcoin. We already tried that. We already explored how to ban people from holding Bitcoin, and it's not effective. So we're done trying to stop people from buying Bitcoin. Now, guys, again, I don't think they're being completely honest. I think they were preparing the road for this big Wall Street institutions to get a hold of Bitcoin and to get a hold of Bitcoin before you and I did. So that's, if you were in the US, they basically made it so hard to buy Bitcoin, especially big quantities of Bitcoin, because you were allowed to buy with credit cards, but you cannot buy $10,000 with a credit card potentially. Depends on your bank. But the fact that these guys who control the banks, they're saying we're done trying to stop people from doing that, is also a good signal, because it signals that they're going to be opening the doors for everyone to start buying Bitcoin again in the US and elsewhere, because the IMF, it's not only for the US. The SEC it only applies for the US, but the IMF is in general. It's kind of the bank of central banks around the world. So more demand, guys. So again, more demand, less supply, the price goes up. Last but not least, I'm going to show you this. And central banks to start holding crypto on their balance sheets. This is not news, like new news. This comes from January 18th. But guys, if you think that Blackrock has a lot of money, what about the US government? What about the European Central Bank? What about, well, we already know that China is approving the purchase of Bitcoin by retail people, again in Hong Kong. But if central banks, who basically make money out of nothing, print that money and start buying Bitcoin, guys, again, it's more demand. So what does that mean, guys? Again, the price will go back up. So now, guys, let's go to the technical analysis and try to figure out how high can it go. And I'm going to be showing you two scenarios. One is the conservative one. And then we're going to go to the crazy one, which, guys, I'm not that the kind of crazy guys that will tell you it's going to be worth $1 million in 1 year. Potentially, it will eventually go there, but we're not going to go there in this video. I'm going to show you what I think is going to be happening from here till the Bitcoin halving on April next year. So this is the technical analysis, the charts. And as you can see, we used to have this ceiling, this resistance at $30,000 Bitcoin, this yellow one or orangey one you see here. Now, we just broke past that. And that was a really strong psychological barrier. And the fact that we just broke past that, if we manage to stay there, let's say for a week or so, I will think that we will not go back down. We will stay up and keep going up. So for now, guys, if this is not broken on the way down again, I think the floor for now is going to be $30,000. For me, that means that I can buy a $30,000. It's kind of expensive compared to what it was a few months ago. But still, if I purchase a $30,000 and I think it's going to be going to $40,000, that's already 33% increase in my money. So again, guys, this is not financial advice. Take this with a grain of salt. But initially, that's my departing point where I am seeing the price of Bitcoin. So no less than $30,000 if we manage to stay above the $30,000 mark for a week or so. So after saying that, we see that we already broke past this purple line, which is an ascending resistance. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this in a second. So we broke past this, but then we came back down. So apparently this is a strong resistance. It means a strong ceiling, and the price of Bitcoin is trying to puncture that ceiling, and it was not able to do that. Now, for now, guys, because all this news I just gave you, that is the fundamental analysis, this makes people eager to get into Bitcoin, because all those gates that were closed to investors a month or couple months ago are now being open. So the more people know about this, the more people know about BlackRock and every other ETF potentially getting approved. If you want to be in a bull run, this is the perfect moment to get into. And guys, this is not financial advice, but I would think so. So you want to get in before all these ETFs are allowed to buy Bitcoin, because once they are allowed to buy Bitcoin, the price will go up, right, guys? They need to hold Bitcoin to back the ETFs that they are providing on the stock exchange. How much Bitcoin? Initially, a ton. And then as more people buy Bitcoin through those ETFs, then they're going to have to be buying more. And the more the price of Bitcoin goes up, the more the FOMO, the more people will want to buy Bitcoin again. So how far up can we go? Okay, the first step for me, the barrier, if we broke past that purple line, ascending line, is 34,700. That's more or less the next step up. That is already $4,000 above the current price. So that's around 12 to 13% above. So if you want to make a nice 12%, let's say in a month or two, I think that's really possible. So, but that doesn't take us to the exciting part, right, guys? Because we are all hoping to go back to another all-time high. So is that possible? Well, guys, from the fundamental analysis, once BlackRock is approved, then I think the speed in which we will get to that high is going to be increased. So now, on the other hand, guys, if the SEC says, no, we're not going to be approving BlackRock's ETF, that might be a bad sign for the markets. So it's still a coin toss. We're still not 100% there. But one thing to know about BlackRock, they have applied for more than 500 ETFs with the SEC, and they were only denied one. So they have a good track. So we think that there is a good chance that they will be approved. And basically, BlackRock has so much money that they have a lot of influences. So it's a slim chance that they will not be approved. So it's a matter of probabilities. The probability of them getting approved is higher than them not being approved. So I would bet, potentially, me, again, not financial advice, but I would bet for them to be approved. Now let's zoom out and see how this looks in the long term. Now we just zoom out. Instead of each of these bars being 1 day, it's now 1 week. And we can see an uptrend, and a flag is forming here. This potentially is an upside. And as you can see, this floor, this purple line floor, there's a trend, an uptrend. So at some point, we broke this trend when FTX was happening and all that bad news. The market seems to have forgotten about all those bad things, UST, FTX, and all that stuff. And they said, okay, we already mourned this thing, and we are going to be looking to the future. And this is what's going on. Now, this purple ascending line is going to be limiting for the time being the price of Bitcoin. But if we break past this, then we will easily go to 34.7. And once we get there, there are softer barriers at around 35 all the way to 38,000. So I think it's quite easy for us to get around $40,000 if the Bitcoin ETF from BlackRock is approved. I have no doubt, because they would have to buy Bitcoin, guys. And again, less people are selling Bitcoin. Now, why are less people selling Bitcoin? It's pretty easy. And here's my thought process. Why would I sell my Bitcoin if I think it's going to an all-time high? Right? If you are thinking that's going to happen, you shouldn't sell your Bitcoin. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. So right now we're at 30,000. The all-time high is around 69, close to 70,000. So you could make 100% return on your investment if you buy right now, and if you think we are going to that all-time high. Now, another big factor, guys, fundamental we need to speak about is that the Bitcoin halving is fast approaching. Is going to be happening on April next year. So the first time we discussed this in the recent times was in January. That seemed more like a year ahead of that video when we recorded that. But right now we're less than a year. Time passes, time flies. And as with every past Bitcoin halving, the price goes to an all-time high. It doesn't mean that if it happened in the past, it's going to be happening in the future. But again, guys, probabilities. What is the probability of it happening? Potentially high. So with all those pieces of information I just provided, and with that technical analysis, I think 40,000 is doable in the short term. So let's say in 2 months or 3 months, the SEC grants the permission. I don't know how long it takes, but let's assume they already did their homework because they're BlackRock and they just need the final approval. Let's say they were already working with the SEC, with Gary Gensler, and let's imagine a fictitious scenario where the guys at BlackRock told Gary Gensler, please do not approve any other crypto, any other Bitcoin ETF. First approve ours, and then you can do whatever you want. It seems like Gary Gensler has been working that way. So if the Bitcoin ETF by BlackRock is approved, it could be sooner than later. So by that time, by that moment, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think we're going to get to $40,000. And if we break that barrier, $40,000, we can easily go to $50,000, because that would mean that there is a change in perception, a huge change from fear to greed. And once we are in a greed mode, then the bull run activates and the price of Bitcoin can go to an all-time high. Now, I think that we will get closer to the all-time high as we get closer to the Bitcoin halving, because that's what happens. That's what has happened in the past. So I hope this video was useful to you guys. If it was, don't forget to like it. Subscribe to Startup Central, to this channel, if you want more information about Bitcoin, about crypto, and how to make your money grow. See you in the next video. Bye-bye now.